the nail right on the head. As you know, this is probably my initial speaking time. And Patsy always said, if they don't like you, they won't have you back. So we'll just have to see how that goes. And I told some of the ladies, I'm greeting, I'm speaking, but I'm going to check your purse because I'm looking for rotten tomatoes. We're not having no tomato throws tonight. So this all started, I'm going to pick on Michael. Our second favorite eating place, first favorite eating place is here. Second one is Skyline Hot Dogs. I met Michael at Skyline Hot Dogs, and he asked me a really good question. If you could get up and speak in front of a congregation, could you? Would you? I hem-hawed. And I didn't give him a very confident answer. I think it was, well, maybe, or if I have to. And that was about 1.5 years ago. Robert, my loving son-in-law, came and said, I don't have anything to preach on Sunday night. Can you help me out? And I said, yeah, I've been dreaming about sermons for 20 years, and I've got a hot one for you. This is about dark and light. I've had some mighty, mighty, mighty dark times in my life, and I've had some really light times in my life. If I shed tears, it could be because it was so dark or because I'm so joyous that it's happy. I'm going to try to fit 72 years of my life into maybe 10 minutes. Some things have never been told to another soul. Most things I'm not very proud of, the dark side. I'm not very proud of the dark side. I was born on a snowy morning in November 1949. My mom and dad divorced when I was 6. My mom remarried, and my stepdad was 51 years older than I was. Stepdad didn't want to play ball a whole lot because he had a few aches and pains that somebody who was 51 years older than I did. He was a blue-collar, Democrat, hard-working railroader. He made a lot of life skill decisions. He helped me make a lot of life skill decisions. For example, when I was 12 years old, he said, it's time you do something. I said, like what? We're going to mow grass, but you're going to buy the mower, and you're going to buy the oil, and you're going to buy the gas, and it's a little business. I'll loan you the money to do all that, but you pay me back. I said, okay, Dad. I had something like 37 yards one summer. I kept quite busy. The first day, got done, and he said, okay, get in the car. He drove locomotives for a living. We didn't go too many places in a car. He said, get in the car. We went to the first place that I mowed the grass. He said, you're going to come back tomorrow and do it right. These people work hard for their money, and you didn't give them what they paid for. I left a little, it was probably as big as my fist out of a 1-acre field. He said, you go back and you mow that 1 fist of land, and that's how you do things. If you owe somebody $100 and you don't have 100, you give them $1 every time you have one. Don't wait until you get to the 100 because you're not paying your debt. Those are the kind of life skills I had. I grew up in a pretty small town, Garrett. It was at the time probably 5,000 people. We played ball, we swam, we rode bicycles, and I hung out with my buddies. My preteen years is where your Christian life and my worldly life changed. I went to church maybe twice a year for 4 or 5 years. And what I remember is I always put a quarter in the collection plate every time I went. That was my exposure to church. My early teen years, I remember spending times with my biological father. He was a bartender, and instead of going to church, I went to the tavern and I helped stock beer bottles in the cooler, because that's what my dad did. As life went on, I found out he was an alcoholic. Bartender being an alcoholic, that's not the right profession to have. The last time I talked to him, He said, I want $100, Tim. And I said, no, Dad, you're not getting $100. I'll pay $500 of your bills, but I'm not giving you $100 because I know where to go. That's the last time he talked to me. Never had another word with him. I was an average student in school, maybe a B average. I didn't like to study. I liked to play ball, mow grass, do things like that. I had maybe 8 or 10 close buddies. None of them went to church, so I felt like I was part of the group. We smoked. We drank beer. We drank wine, most of the time in excess. Many times I'd wake up the next morning and wonder what I did, where I was at, who I did it with. And that was scary. I had a little influence with the Bible at that time. I don't know where I got it, but it was a little red Bible. It looked about like a matchbox cover here. I think it was a Psalms. I started carrying that in my pocket because I know the good Lord would protect me on those nights when I didn't know what I was doing. I ended up, my mom washed it and it got thrown away in the garbage. So that was so much for the little red Bible. Thank goodness there was no drugs. I was crazy enough, I probably would have done drugs. Wasn't interested in the sex. Me and one of my friends came within about 6 hours of going to Woodstock. The good Lord was looking after me because I think if I went to Woodstock, that would have probably been my demise just for everything that went on. We couldn't get our checks cashed anywhere in town, so we didn't have no money to go. If we could have got a check cashed, we might have been went to Woodstock. I graduated from high school in 4 years. I went to school of hard knocks several times. I didn't have a formal higher education. But I went right to work in a factory, making $1.90 an hour. I worked every day. My dad planted the seed, you work hard. If you're working for somebody, you made a contract. They're going to pay you a fair day's wage, and you're going to work hard. Okay, Dad. I worked my way up the ladder. I started in at an entry-level job. I was a human resource manager. I was a plant superintendent. I was a plant manager. I was a property manager that went all over the country looking for different properties. Did a good job. I kind of liked it. According to worldly standards, I was making a great wage with a position, but I still wasn't a Christian. I was definitely a worldly person. My career was an addiction. Long hours, travel, took up most of my time, and had to keep my success status. I was told many times, Tim, you're the best there is. We can't find any better person to do the job that you're doing. That really helped my ego. Didn't help my trip with the Lord, though. They thought so much of me, they downsized me after 40 years service. I lost $300,000 worth of life insurance. I lost my major medical. I lost 60% of my base pay for life. And the next day they wanted me to be a consultant because I knew so much about the business. You didn't need me yesterday, you're not going to need me tomorrow. So we separated. This is kind of when my life turned around. I was living pretty high on the hog, and one night, after all this went on, don't imagine this, and don't close your eyes and imagine this. I was laying in the bathtub. I looked down and I said, this is what I brought into life. What is Dana going to give me that I can take out more than what I got right here? So all the $300,000, that would have amounted probably, I was going to work 15 more years, and that would have been $1 million worth of fringes and wages that I lost out on. But I couldn't take it with me anyhow, so I was just sitting in the bathtub, and I kind of turned the corner. About this time also, my mom had started attending the church, and she started reading the Bible. Started attending services quite regular in a small church. It's Let me see, it's on the west side of Kroger right now. It sits back off the road. They said it was a Calvinistic church, whatever Calvinistic is. Every week, Tim, go to church with me. Oh, Mom, I'm a heathen. I don't know if the building could hold me. If I walk in, the roof's going to fall in, the walls will cave in, and then everybody will be in a fix. So finally, one Mother's Day, she said, I don't want nothing for Mother's Day. Don't take me out to eat. Don't do anything. Go to church with me on Mother's Day. I went, and that building's still standing today. The walls are intact. The roof's there. That after service is something happened to me for the initial time, and it's happened thousands of times since. A husband and wife walked up to me. They gave me a hug. They said, you're in my prayers. I never had anybody tell me, you're in my prayers. The preacher that time, he's an old-time preacher. Hellfire and brimstone, I guess would be it. Told me that Tim, your brother, who is now deceased, was 6 years older than I. He said, you two boys wrote the catalog on sin. I don't know if I know people that done the things that you did and are still living. But that, again, that was the dark side. Now the light starts. Remember, all that was the dark. Now here comes the light. I made it through the dark with no tears. We'll see how we do with the light side. Later on that year, a co-worker had been going through some really tough times in her personal life. Other co-workers, if you ever worked in a factory, they love to spread rumors and talk about people and get behind the shelf and at the coffee cup or at the coffee pot and talk about them. I said, how? You're not being very nice, and you never, ever defended yourself. You never got mad. You never argued. You just kept your chin up and kept on working. How do you do that? If it was me, I'd probably have to go find the answer in the bottom of a beer bottle. But I did that for years and I never found anything, the right answers. So again, one day I asked her, how could you do that? She said, I am a Christian and the Lord will get me through and over this. And she was as sincere as a heart attack. She wasn't just giving me an excuse to get rid of me. So now I was around 40 or 43 years old. I never heard such a thing. Her answer was so simple. The answer is not in a beer bottle. As Michael said today, I've learned a word in his message. I had to unlearn the world. That's the only thing I knew for 40 years. I wanted to find out more about this lifestyle. My style was sending me to an early grave, which it was. So one Wednesday evening, I asked her to go have coffee with me so we could discuss her position in the church, and she agreed. She went to church on a Wednesday night, and I went to the tavern. So I wasn't quite clear out of the dark. Bless her heart. That night we met in a restaurant parking lot. I put 6 pieces of juicy fruit gum in my mouth so it was nice and fresh. You couldn't smell beer over juicy fruit, so I thought. I walked up to the car, and she was in the car, and I said, hi. You've been drinking. She put it in gear and drove off. That was the extent of our coffee. That night was the last time I had a drop of alcohol. Not one drop, unless it was in cough syrup. It was just because somebody said, you've been drinking, and I disappointed them. Looked like I hit her in the gut with the 2x4. She just took the air out of her sails. But thank goodness that happened. I started attending church with this lady. I was baptized, and she consented to be my wife. Now going on 26 years and going strong. My walk with God and her has been the best walk of my life. You know, I mentioned I had 8 or 10 buddies. They've all faded. They're gone, just like a poof. I'm glad to say in their place is these people sitting in this room tonight. I have many more friends, Christian friends, in this room. God and our faith is what we have in common. It's not the old beer bottle. Mentors. I have a few men that have mentored me through this journey. They didn't preach. They didn't do Bible studies. I watched what they did. I listened to what they said and how they lived their lives. That was some of the best sermons and best teachings I could have. And they did it without trying. It was just like commonplace. At one time, the first funeral I officiated was by my request. My mother passed. She didn't really know any religious people, so I did her funeral. And in the meantime, I've done 6 more people's funeral. That does not make me a preacher or pastor or anything. The world looks at me and now not as a beer drinker, but somebody that knows a little bit about the Bible. I can't quote them book, chapter, and verse, but I can get a message across. This year started off with a bang. I had a possible heart attack. Then I had cardio rehab for 18 weeks. Then I had a left knee total replacement. Then physical therapy for that for a couple of months. I went through quarantine because somebody had COVID. Then I got COVID. Then I went back in quarantine. And as of late, Patsy's had some real health issues, as you well know. All have been taken care of, except for the cancer. And on the 21st, we're going to attack that. And it's been quite a year. But you know as well as I do, without a doubt, God answers our prayers. And I thank you for your prayers. In the past and the ones in the future. You've been praying in the past, and I know you'll pray in the future. It seems like our faith gets tested. It gets tested. It gets tested. Some more, but we don't waver. Several hymns come to my mind. I may not get the titles right on some of them. One of them is, I'm not the man I want to be, but I'm not the man I used to be. I'm redeemed. Victory in Jesus. Blessed assurance is to name a few. Anytime you see me out in the yard mowing, don't get too close if you can hear me, because I'll be singing some of these off-key, pitchy, and loud. I sure don't sound like Michael, although he sure inspires me when I listen to some of his. And one of my favorite that I don't know, I know the chorus. I can sing the chorus with the best of them. I can say the chorus with the best of them. I don't sing, but I'll give you the lyrics, and then when I'm done with that, I'll tell you what the chorus is, and some of you probably already know. It's called Through It All. I've had many tears and sorrows. I've had questions for tomorrow. There have been times I didn't know right from wrong, but every situation God gave me blessed consolation. That my trials come to only make me strong. Second verse, I've been to lots of places. I've seen lots of faces. There have been times when I felt all alone. Yet in those lonely hours, yes, those precious lonely hours, Jesus let me know that I was his own. Third verse, I thank God for the mountains, and I thank him for the valleys. I thank him for the storms he brought me through. For if I'd never had a problem, I wouldn't know what he could solve them. I'd never know what faith in God could do. In the chorus, this is what I repeat and repeat and repeat. Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, I've learned to depend upon his word. Then I'm going to read a scripture, and I'm just about done. It's going to be Psalm 25, verses 1 through 7. First time I read this, I thought, I hope somebody will read this about me at the funeral. It fits me to a T, but it still fits me there because the light's shining, and boy, does it shine. Here's verse 1. To you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. In you I trust, O my God. Do not let me be put to shame, nor let my enemies triumph over me. No one whose hope is in you will ever be put to shame, but they will be put to shame who are treacherous without excuse. Show me your ways, Lord. Teach me your path. Guide me in your truth and teach me. For you are my God and my Savior, and my hope is in you all day long. Remember, O Lord, your great mercy and love. And this is what pertains. For they are old. Remember not the sins of my youth. Remember not the sins of my youth and my rebellious ways. According to your love, remember me, for you are good, O Lord. You know, life is good, and I thank you, God, for blessing me and looking forward to serving you however I can for the rest of my life. And I know you'll be right there beside me. And it's been a pleasure talking to you this evening. And if you've got a problem, hopefully it's never been as dark as what I have went through, but it didn't kill me. It made me stronger, and the light shines brighter every day. If the light's not in your world, if you need to be baptized, if you need to confess something, if you've got some burdens, I know several people that will give you a hug and say, I'm praying for you. Take care, and God bless you.
Heaven's sunshine in my soul today, more glorious and bright, than rose and any earthly sky. Oh, Jesus is my life. Oh, the sun, my soul, blessed sun, my soul, the peaceful, happy moments that we know, and Jesus shows His smiling face. There is sunshine in my soul. There is music in my soul today. A herald to the King. And Jesus listening can hear the songs I cannot sing. Oh, the sunshine, blessed sunshine, soul, while the peaceful, happy moments that we hold, and Jesus shows His smiling face. There is sunshine in my soul. There is gladness in my soul today, and hope and praise and love. All the blessings which He gives me now.